Hello everyone, and welcome to another guitar lesson with TARrega. This is guitar lesson 3, and today we're looking at the G-string notation, and we're looking at major scales and how they're constructed. We've gone so far over notation on the E and B strings, and if you would like to watch a video that is just playing of this lesson, but just playing, we'll have that out in sometime after this one. This version of the lesson, as usual, is going to have explanations between some of the exercises. The video that comes out a little bit later today will be the exact same material, but absolutely no talking between exercises if you just want to have a practice play along. Okay, you can find the link to the sheet music if you're watching this on Twitch. It's going to be at the underneath the video. I have a Twitter plugin that you can follow the link to the Google Drive, and if you're watching this on YouTube, then the link to the Google Drive will be in the video description. So, before we get started, let's look at our notes so far. We have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The two new ones that we're doing today are right here, G and A. They're the open G string and the second finger on the G string, the third string. Up until now, we haven't used our two finger at all. We've been using the open strings 1 and 3. And we have all of our notes that we've used so far also along the right side of the video. If you ever want to look at those are always going to be there no matter how far we scroll. Okay. So I think we're ready to start. We'll play through the G exercises, and then we will pause when we get to A. This note is G. And let me change one more thing here before I forget. There we go. Okay, this note right here on the third line, on the second line from the bottom is open G like this. And that's the only note we're playing here for the next few measures. So, from the top, here we go. Three, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, half notes. 2, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes. Make sure that you're alternating your I and M fingers. Eighth notes. Before we go on, I just realized that opening up this tab actually shoved the music underneath the camera, so give me one moment, we'll change that. There we go, that's better. Okay, so on to the A note now. We've got our A in the second space from the bottom, and this is played with the 2 finger on the 3rd string. You can also see this on the diagram off to the right, right here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing, but with A now. There we go. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Make sure to alternate your I and M fingers on the right hand. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Half notes. Quarter notes. Eighth notes. Constantly alternating the I and M. And this is where we're going to switch exercises now to G going to A. Again, that is open G on the 3rd string, going to 2nd finger A, and back. And we'll play through several versions of this exercise before we pause again. 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Going to quarter notes now. Switching frequently now. Now we're switching between G and B. That is open G, our new note, the 3rd string open, and we're switching to the open 2nd string. You can see that up here we have G to B, and that's open to open. Open 3rd string, open 2nd string. We have some slightly varying rhythms here, right? We have half notes and we have quarter notes. Okay, 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4. Next. open G as usual, our new third string open, and we have our C note. That is the first fret on the second string. Okay, between open G and C. 4 clicks and we'll start. Next we have open G, our new note, to D, the third fret on the second string. So between G and D. If you can, as we're playing these fretted notes on the second string, try to keep that note pushed down. We don't need to lift it up when we're done with it. We can just let it hang out there. 4 clicks and we'll start. Next, open G to open first string E. Open G. Probably use the I finger for this, and then, well, actually we're still alternating I and M, so open G up to open E. Right? Open third string, open first string. 4 clicks and we'll start. Oops. Next we have open G, our third string, to first fret F on the first string. Open G, F. Okay, 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Finally, in this pattern, we have open G on the third string to G on the first string, which is the third fret. Open G, third string. Third fret G, first string. Again, try to keep your third finger down, even when you're not playing it, or at the very least keep it touching that string. You don't have to keep it pushed down, but at least keep in contact, or if you feel like you absolutely have to lift up, then you can keep it close. Sometimes you'll see my hands drawing away from the guitar like this, but that's not something you should actually do. That is something that is just hopefully showing you that we're playing an open string. I'm just making it clear. If I do this, this is just, hey, we're playing an open string. But yeah, don't get into the habit of flying your hand away from the guitar. To keep it as close as you can to your frets. So even when we're not playing this fretted note, you can just keep it down like this. Okay, so open G to third fret G. 4 clicks and we'll start. Now we're going to use A as our note that we return to instead of G. So all those previous exercises we were constantly returning to open G. Now we're constantly returning to our new note A, our second fret on the third string. So first we're going from A to B and back. Same idea as before. Here we go. Open A, sorry, not open A, second fret A to open B. Here's A. Here's open B. Here we go. A to C, that is the 2 fret on the third string, to the 1 fret on the 2 string. We have A to C. 4 clicks and we'll start. Next, A to D, that is the 3rd fret on the 2nd string again. A to D. As usual, try to keep these fingers down. Actually, at the same time, you can leave both of these pushed down, right? Same with A and C. You can leave both of those pushed down at the same time. Same with A and D. So I have 2 on A. I have 3 on D. 4 clicks and we'll start. Next we have A to open E on the 1st string. A, open E. Okay, 4 clicks and we'll start. Next we have A to F. F is the 1st fret on the 1st string. A, F. Try to hold both of them down at the same time. 4 clicks and we'll start. Finally, out of this pattern, we have A to G. 2nd fret A to our 1st string G. A, G. If you can, try to keep both of these fingers pushed down. You can use your 2 and your 3 3 for G, or you can use your 2 and even your 4 for G if that's more comfortable. I think most people would probably find the third finger more comfortable for this. But everyone's a little different, so use 3 or 4 for that, and both are okay. Okay, A to G. 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4, G, 2. Okay, so we've played through G and A are two third string notes that we're learning today, and we've played through all of our previous notes on the first and second strings too. So give your hands a chance to rest. We're going to talk theory here for a second. You can see here, if you can read this, it says musical scales consist of a series of notes that have a set amount of distance between each note. Let me say that again. Musical scales consist of a series of notes that have a set amount of distance between each note. So that distance is generally either a whole step or a half step. Whole steps on one string are the distance of 2 frets, and half steps are the distance of 1 fret. Okay, so an example of a whole step on one string is, we'll say, 2 to 4. Frets 2 to 4 on the same string. That's a whole step. A half step would be, we'll say 4 to 5. Or 5 to 4, also a half step. Whole step could also be 4 to 2. Or open to 2 is also a whole step. So on one string, a whole step is 2 frets. On one string, a half step is 1 fret. So I'm saying on one string because we can't switch strings just by 2 frets and get a whole step. Usually. Depends on what strings we're on. So this, just keep this pattern in mind for staying on one string, because then it's always true. Okay, so major scales may start on any note, but they always follow the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. That's something that's really good to memorize. So try to commit this to memory. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. 2 wholes, half, 3 wholes, half. So I'm going to show you why we're talking about the major scale, and also why what we've been playing from G to G is not a major scale. So far we've learned the notes open G to the 3rd fret G on the 1st string. And that is actually a C major scale, but from G to G, which we can also call the G Mixolydian mode. And it's not terribly important that you remember that it's called the Mixolydian mode, but it's there if you want. But let's play through all of the notes that we've learned so far, starting on the open G, and we'll go all the way up to our higher G on the 1st string, and then we'll go in reverse. And we're going to do this with whole notes, and then half notes, and then quarter notes. And you're going to hear that it's going to have a sound that maybe doesn't sound quite like it's resolved, and we'll go from there after that. Okay, so starting here on G, this is the open G, open 3rd string. 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, next string, open, first fret, 3rd fret coming up, next string open E, 1st fret, and 3rd fret G. Starting again on the same note, G, going down to 1 F, going down to open E, 2nd string 3, 1, open B, 2-finger A, open G. Half notes. Open, 1, 3, open, 1, 3, 1, open, 3, 1, open, 2, open. Quarter notes, 2, open, 2, 3, open, 1, 3, 1, open, 3, 1, open, 2, open. Alright, so what we've done is we've played through every single note that we've learned so far. We've played from G to G, which includes G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, right? That's all we've done here. And this is, we can call this a scale. We can call it a G Mixolydian mode or a G Mixolydian scale. And that is also just a C major scale, but starting and ending from G to G. A major scale will usually start and end on the name of itself. So C major scale would usually start and end on C. So the fact that we're starting and ending on G is what turns it into a mode instead of calling it a C major scale. And we'll get more into that far down the line. But here's the thing we're going to really do today is we're doing the C major scale again, but this time we're doing it only on one string. And you can see that this does not follow our whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half pattern. It actually does for a little bit, right? It does whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Oops, we should have one more whole, right? But we have a half. So this is whole, whole, half, whole. It's not completing that formula we talked about earlier. It changes it up a little bit. So this is the exact same notes that we just played, but now we're going to play them on one string, all on the 3rd string. And it'll go from the open 3rd string to the 2nd fret, to the 4th fret, you can read the frets up here, to the 5th fret, to the 7th fret, to the 9th, 10th, and finally 12th, and then back down again. We're doing these in whole notes, so 4 counts each, and 4 clicks, and we'll start. Open, this goes to 2. This goes to 4. This goes to 5. This goes to 7. This goes to 9. This goes to 10. This goes to 12. And back down. 12. Going down to 10. Going down to 9. Going down to 7. Going down to 5. Down to 4. Down to 2. And open. Okay, those are the exact same notes that we played between our 3 strings, only now on one string. And listen closely again, I'll just play through it quickly for a moment. So all of our strings, and then there's the one string. Sorry, one more time. So you have the same notes but played two different ways. The reason I'm showing it to you on one string is because it's a lot easier to visualize the half steps and whole steps. So if you remember, we talked about the major scale being whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So this is different, right? This is whole, whole, half, whole. So to change it, the only thing we have to do is actually raise the F to an F sharp. And then that actually gives us whole, whole, half, whole, half. So all these W's and H's are just wholes and halves, right? And the W right here is telling us it's a whole step from G to A. This W is saying it's a whole step from A to B. This half step is saying it's a half step from B to C, and so on. So from F sharp to G is a half step. And changing F to F sharp gave us E to F sharp being a whole step. So this basically just completed our pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, half. We're going to play this now on one string, and you're going to hear the difference between the G Mixolydian mode that we just played and the G major scale, which is more common in music, right? So let's try this now. All on one string. I'll call out the frets, but they're also right above the note that they're played on too. This is all in the third string. 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, going on to 2, on to 4, 5, going to 7, going to 9, 11, 12, back down, 12 again, 11, 9, 7, 5, 4, 2, open. Okay, so why are we playing this, and why are we playing across 3 different strings when we can just play on one string? Well, when we're playing across 3 strings, it lets us keep all of the notes in one spot. So it's playing all in this area of the guitar is a whole lot more comfortable and economical for us than moving up and down one string a lot. So we're going to do that same scale again, the G major scale we just played, but this time we're going to play it on the 3 strings, just like we have usually been doing up until this point. So to do that, we simply have to raise F, which is usually the 1 fret on the first string, to F sharp, which is the 2 fret. So instead of F here, we get F sharp. First string, 2nd fret, using the 2 finger. That's our F sharp. Okay, so let's start on open G, and 4 clicks and we'll start. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now going to 2, right? 2, 3, 4, G. Starting on G again. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. Going down to 1. Going down to open. Down to 2. And open. Okay, so that is the entirety of new concepts we're learning today. So let's listen for a brief moment to the difference in sound between a G Mixolydian mode, which uses F natural, to to a G major scale, which uses F sharp. So here's G mixolydian. And G major. Okay. And again, it's a major scale because it follows the pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, 2 wholes, half, 3 wholes, half. Remember that pattern. Okay, so the final thing we're doing today is melodies in G major. These are varying in degrees of challenge, so if you have trouble playing these right now along with the video, you can always go back to YouTube and you can actually slow these down, right? You can click on the speed of the video and chop it down to 50% or 75% or whatever is comfortable for you. Here we go, starting on our first melody here. These melodies are all in G major, the first few at least. Let's take a break until we do the fourth melody here. So we still have 2 more melodies in G major, right? So we're using our F sharp still. Okay, 4 clicks and we'll start. Another little break before this melody. Still in G major here. Okay, 4 clicks and we'll start. Okay, now we're switching to melodies in C major. We only have 3 normal ones, then I wrote a challenging melody near the end. So this means instead of F sharp, instead of our 2, we're going back to using our 1, right? So this is C major, or you can think of it as G mixolydian, but we're really playing in C major now because we're starting and ending on a C note. Right? Remember we said the C major scale, when played from G to G, is the G mixolydian. But when we play it from C to C, or you play notes of that scale from C to C, then you get the sound of it, the C major key or scale. And when we play in the G major key, you can see we usually started and ended on G as well. So typically when you start a song in the key of anything, that's usually what you start with. You start with that note. So in G major, we'd probably start and end on G, and in A major, we'd probably start and end on A. That's not always the case, but that's most often the case, especially for beginning melodies like this. Okay, so let's look at our melodies in C using our F natural note, the 1 fret on the first string. Okay, here we go. Break before the next melody, also C, right? 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. I just missed that G right there. I was thinking we were doing another F. So, okay, going on to the next melody. 4 clicks and we'll start. Okay, so you can already hear a little bit of what this melody will sound like. This is a challenge melody. It is going to require some more movement. This is something you can practice with the sheet music, or if you feel like you want to jump into it right now, that's fine too. Again, remember you can use the YouTube video playback speed to change the speed of this. Okay, let's start. 4 beats and it will begin. Okay, so you might have noticed, if you're watching my fingers doing that last part of the, or actually through the whole exercise, I guess, the whole challenge melody, there are parts where I had all notes pushed down at the same time. So a good example of that would be let's see, this measure right here, so 375. You notice we have a D. You can use with either your third or your fourth. We have an F, and we have an A. Now you could, this would be a bad way to do it, but technically you could play one finger, you could lift that finger, you could play your next finger, you could lift that finger, you could put your next note down, you could lift that one, you could put your next note down, right? But that would be really tiring, so we would get, and it wouldn't sound very good, we'd get a sound like this. And unless you really want like a really choppy sound, then we probably just want to keep all of our fingers just already pushed down on those notes. So that means you have a chord. This is actually outlining a D minor chord. So again, you have your F, your A, and your D pushed down, and your D can either be with the third or with the fourth finger. And if you were to strum 4 strings, you get a D minor chord. And if you play it like we're playing it, we get this sound. And actually, every single one of these measures in this challenge melody is basically just part of a chord. We start off with a part of a C chord. Next measure, we do part of a G7. Next, back to C. Back to G7. Back to C. And we do a scale, part of a scale. Then we go back to C. Right? So not very complex in terms of what the chords are doing. It's basically C, G. Right? But when we put that all together with what our fingers are doing, it's a lot of movement, right? G7 again. We do G7 again here. Slightly differently voiced, right? But still a G7. Next, back to C. Finally, we have a different chord here. This is called an A minor. We go to a D minor. To a G7. To a C. To a D minor. To a G. To a C. Now to a G, then a C in the same measure, and we just end on those C notes. So, yeah, essentially we're playing chords, but we're breaking the notes apart instead of strumming all of them. We're breaking them apart. So that's why this melody is a bit more challenging. We're playing arpeggios now instead of just notes that are quite close to each other. Okay, that will be the end of the lesson for today. I will do a just playing version of this lesson that you can catch a little bit later. It will be uploaded shortly after this one. And as always, I'm going to try to do these. We'll have a schedule up hopefully pretty soon here, so you can catch them on Twitch if you want to ask questions live or play along live. That's an option. But they're also going to be up on TARrega Lessons on YouTube, so just type in TARrega Guitar Lessons, and that should take you there. I also have my links for the sheet music and YouTube link and all that stuff in the Twitter at the bottom of my Twitch stream, and all of that stuff will also be in the video description of the YouTube videos. So, have a good day everyone, and I will see you in a little bit for the just playing version of this lesson. Okay.